Welcome to WDX. It's that time again. My name's Todd Saylor, and yes, I am the author. I am the inventor. I'm the creator of Attitudinal Disorder and all things Wired Differently. And I want to thank you for coming to Wired Differently Experience, where my job is to love you, my job is to inspire, my job is to motivate you and maybe teach you a few things, and we're grateful for that. Well, the show's job is to challenge the status quo, right? The show's job is to help us dare not to be average. Well, your job, the little things I ask for you to do are simply this. I want you to not be average. I want you to think, be, and do things differently, right? Wired differently. I want you to be different. And I want you to see right now what I'm sporting right now. It's Tom's Donuts. I haven't done it. Tom's Donuts, vintage Tom's. Give a little shout out for Tom's. I got a lot of Tom's people that are following us. Tom's, I just want, listen, it's Valentine's Day. There's no rules for all this. There's no things that we can do or not do. Hey, my show. I can do what I want. Matter of fact, if you don't like it, I guess you can shut up, but don't. I think we're getting a lot done here. So hang around for this show where I want to talk to you about Valentine's Day a little bit. So here we are. The title of today's show, Happy Valentine's Day. Some of you. I just don't want to like some people. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest, right? I'm just like being that guy. And so I want to challenge you today with the 5 don'ts of LiferShip. The 5 don'ts of LiferShip. So just before we get too far into that, I want to explain the fact that LiferShip is kind of a play on words for leadership. But hey, we're doing life together, right? Let's do this thing called life together, wired differently. Why not? And so I want this show to always be challenging and stretching you in 3 areas. I want to be challenging you in self-help. I want to be challenging you in your entrepreneurship or your business or your work role life. And I want to be challenging you in your spiritual life. And if I can do all of those 3 things in this show, then I feel it's a win. And I'll try to entertain you a little bit along the way. But today, I just want to say the title one more time. Happy Valentine's Day to some of you. I just don't want to like some people. And so let's just kick it off. I just don't want to like some people. I just want to be honest about it. I know I'm challenged to like most people. I'm challenged to like a lot of people. We're supposed to look past people's digressions. We're supposed to move through people. And it's easy to like my sweetie pie and take her out on Valentine's Day in the boat. But it's just harder for me to like some people. And I'm challenged to like some people. So today I want to challenge you to like some people. And the reason I'm doing it and saying it this way is because I just know it's not happening out there. I got so angry at the TV the other day, at the television, that I just was festered up and I was boiling over and I could feel the hate inside me. And I just couldn't like some people on the television. The other day I was in Best Buy and I was going through the line. I was in a very chipper mood and everything was just fine, but the line was too long and no one was getting waited on. Everybody was getting impatient. And finally they opened up the other line, right? And I've been waiting almost 20 minutes in a long line and I was like number 8 to get back up to the line, and they opened up that surge line, right? That purge and surge line. And this couple wasn't been in line for not even 2 seconds. Cut in front of me, went right to the front of that line and jumped. And I said, wait a minute. There's 6 or 7 of us that have been waiting in line for over 20 minutes. And you think you're going to go right in front of the line? I got stuff to do. I'm pretty damn important. Don't you see me on the Facebook? Don't you see me on the television? Don't you see me doing these things? I mean, you can't take that line from me. And they looked right at me and said, so who you think you are? And I said, well, I just want to tell you that's just not right for these people. And she said to me, well, we don't like you. And I said, well, I don't like you either. And that's how it went down at Best Buy. And I checked out before that lady. And then I tried to reconcile. I just didn't want to like her. I didn't want to like her husband. So where are we at in our life when we look at things that way and we have these meltdown moments and we're not these perfect human beings that we're called to be or try to be, and we try to be compassionate as conservatives and liberals and all these kind of things, and we're trying, but we just at some times we just shut down and we're like, what? So let's wipe it all off the board right now. Happy Valentine's Day to my loved ones and all of you out there. But some of you I just don't like. It's the way it is. So I want to challenge you with the 5 don'ts of LiferShip. Let's knock these out. Let's make this a Valentine's shorty. Let's get this done. Let's have some fun. Let's grow from what we've got here. So I talk to you about a lot of things on this Wired Differently experience. And I want you to know I come from a pretty cool place. Wired Differently experience is based on the 3 principles of believe, prepare, attack. Believe, prepare, attack. Anything you do in life, if you believe in it strong enough, and you prepare in it properly, then you attack it appropriately, you will succeed in those things, in most everything. And if you don't first succeed, you're going to go hit it again, because you're going to go back, you're going to believe, you're going to prepare, you're going to attack. And we talk about a lot of things. But one of the things I want to talk about today in that believe, prepare, attack mentality, what did I do wrong at Best Buy? There was no believe. There was very little believe. There was no preparation. I just attacked because that lady was wrong in my mind. Well, you know what? She has a mind too. She had a logical mind. Her husband and her had a logical mind. And this is where I want to get in front of this a little bit. So I just also want to share this with you too. This is a workbook called Wired Differently. It's on my first book called Wired Differently. But in this workbook, I have the 3 stages of being wired differently. And in the book, you can see that the first one is the genetic stage of being wired differently. The second one is called this attitudinal disorder that we have so much fun with here on Wired Differently. And the third one is this actualization, right? And so I think to take somebody through a whole lesson or a whole thing on Wired Differently would be a lot of fun. But I want you to understand that I want you to know about your genetic wired differently. You get it. You were born with all these neurons, and we've talked about this in the past. As many as 100,000 neurons are being baked every minute in your mama's belly. And by the time you're 5, you got over 250 billion neurons in your brain. By the time you're 12 years old, you got over 1,000 trillion neurons in your brain. And then you start to lose them because you're not using them all. So at some particular point, your genetic type of wired differently moves on down the road, and you start to turn into what we call the attitudinal wired differently piece. And that's the piece where me and you and a lot of people are sitting, where we just kind of came out baked a little differently, right? We charge just a little harder differently. We wake up just a little early differently. We go to bed just a little bit later differently. We just do a little things harder differently. We celebrate a little differently. We cry a little differently. We hurt a little differently. We apologize a little differently. We just do everything a little differently. We're just too much wired differently. This attitudinal disorder. We love a little differently. But the third stage I want you to understand is this actualization. The third stage is this piece that we go through from a genetic perspective to this attitudinal piece that we just couldn't help. We were just raised that way, and we genetically were altered by what we studied, learned, and what we threw out and what we kept in our head. And then we come through as these achievers, overachievers, risk takers, or what we are. But finally, the third stage is what we're going to kind of briefly challenge you with today, and we're going to move through it quick. Is this enlightenment stage? This piece where you've got to realize that you're wrong sometimes. You got to realize that you're too much sometimes, Todd. You got to realize that not everybody's like you sometimes, Todd. You got to realize, you get things done, but sometimes you got to get around people instead of through people, Todd. You see, you got to understand yourself. Because if you want to be who you want to be, you have to love and understand who you are. We have to be willing to change who we are to become who we want to be. And so these 5 Ds, these 5 don'ts I want to go through today are don'ts of LiferShip. And I need all these. I've broke every damn rule of these 5 Ds. And that's why I'm challenging you with them. I want my children to understand these 5 don'ts. I want my employees to understand these 5 don'ts. I want my Tom's Donut original people to understand that I'm guilty of these 5 don'ts, and I want to get out in front of these 5 don'ts. I want to challenge you to not do these 5 don'ts. I want you to pick up your game in LiferShip. So number one, let's talk about it. Let's get on down the road. Here we go. Don't compromise your beliefs, but do test them. See, I don't want you to compromise your beliefs. You don't hear me saying, Todd Saylor says, compromise your beliefs, compromise them. There's middle ground and everything. You got to get along with the conservatives. You got to get along with the liberals. You got to get along with the one team. No, you don't. You don't have to compromise your beliefs. Don't compromise your beliefs, but test them. What do you mean, Todd? I mean, test them. If they're your beliefs, why wouldn't you test them? Why wouldn't you put them into action? Why would you just say, I want the wall up? Well, why don't you go on the other side of the wall and think about it? If you're thinking that this example of building a wall for immigrants to keep them out of our country is your ground in this particular political position, and it's your true belief, don't compromise it. Build the damn wall, right? I'm all about the wall. But if you're that certain in it as an example, then test it. Talk to somebody on the other side of the wall. The only thing you can do is prove that you're more right in your belief structures, right? Or you might learn something. So don't compromise your beliefs, but test them. Because here's the problem with your belief structure. Here's the problem with Todd's belief structure. Here's the problem with the righties' belief structure. Here's the problem with the lefties' belief structure. Here's the problem with some other believers of business powers' belief structure. Here's the problem with everybody's belief structure is that you don't know what you don't know. Now, I'm not yelling at you. I'm encouraging you. I'm trying to lift you up and understand and challenge you to not compromise your belief. Number one, don't compromise your beliefs, but test them. I wanted to challenge you to test your beliefs. It can only get stronger or it can only get better if you're not afraid to challenge your beliefs, because you don't know what you don't know. And here's the other problem with things. Number two is we're too quick to argue. I'm on the television. I'm watching the television with my wife. I turn on the Fox News. I turn on whatever other news there is, and I'm watching, and I'm just I can't get along with anybody on the television right now. There is nobody. I'm looking everywhere. I'm looking on Fox. I'm looking on CNN. The only people I get along on television with is HGTV. That's the only network in the world that I get along with most of the time. Sometimes I don't even like the people that are on that show. They're just goofier than me. I don't know why they're picking the granite that they're picking. It doesn't go with anything else. I'm like, what's going on? I digress. I can even find problems in HGTV. But don't be so quick to argue, Todd. Step back. Rather, I want you to be more measured to first understand. If there's people you're having conflict with out there, I'm challenging you not to be quick to argue. I'm challenging you to be rather measured to first understand them. Well, I don't know why they picked that granite to ruin the whole stinking house, but you know what? Maybe they have an inkling towards purple, pinkish granite against brown cupboards. Maybe that was the way they grew up. Maybe it makes them feel better. It's their house. They can do whatever they wanted. Why are you so mad at them? Love it or list it. I go crazy over Love It or List It. That show just drives me crazy. I'm laughing one minute and I'm ticked off the other because the poor guy never gets to sell a house and Jillian wins all the time. It's rigged. Don't be so quick to argue with HGTV. Don't be so quick. Be rather measured and first understand people's preferences. First understand why they're thinking the way they're thinking. You're not always right, Todd. You're not always right, Tim. You're not always right, Steve. You're not always right, Jeff. You got to be willing, right? You got to be willing to step out there, because no matter what you do, I want you also to be ready when you start to challenge somebody, you start to push back in a business world or something that gets rather heated in political arrangements, or even if you're out there literally in a war. I guess people fight all the time, right? But a fight could be imminent. It could be imminent. You get in there, start knocking around with people. You start calling them names on the Facebook. You start doing this stuff on the Twitter ditter. You start doing all those things. You see somebody out in the public. It's not beyond people bashing heads anymore. I've seen it on the television. Be careful. Don't be quick to argue. Rather be measured to understand them first. One little comment I had in my book, Wired Differently, was there's only 3 things in life you must be willing to do, is you have to do to live, is to eat, breathe, and fight. So what I'm trying to give you here with this whole fight piece is listen, don't be so quick to fight. Understand your opponent, understand your adversary, understand people you don't even know, like on the television. Look at their side, right? Try to understand them first. But I will tell you this, as a Wired Differently person, you need to be willing to eat, breathe, and fight at any time, because you need all 3 of those to survive. At some point, you're going to have to stand up for something. You're going to have to stand up for the flag. You're going to have to stand up for your wife. You're going to have to stand up for your children. You have to stand up for your beliefs that you've tested, and you're going to have to go forward. So I'm not going to preach that. I'm just going to tell you this. I do believe that the other side has as much passion and understanding for their causes that they can have just as we have towards ours. And I'm not even saying with Simon, it's just the way it is. Be prepared. Believe, be prepared. Don't run into attack mode. Number 3, here's where we're going to go. I don't want you to murder people. So I just got done telling you to not compromise your beliefs, but test them. I also wanted you not to be quick to argue. And when I talk about arguing or pushing back and doing those things, don't murder people. I want you to encourage people. And I said to my wife this last night, I was going to talk about this topic, and I was going to call it to not murder. And she said, why do you use the word murder? And I said, well, honey, I mean, listen, murder is murder. So the definition of murder is the killing of one human being by another human being. But man, I sit here watching HDTV and getting after Jillian because she always wins. And David should win once in a while. David's really good. I like David a lot. And, and I say bad things. I yell them right at the television, the news. I'm murdering those people. Some of the things I say in my brains, some of the things you say in your brains, even when you're driving in a car, in a road, I got to point to all this negativity, these vicious words, these irrational thoughts, this rage that comes over us under certain things. Sometimes they call it road rage. Sometimes they call it CNN rage. I'm sure they call it Fox rage too. When it comes over us, we say things in our brains. We say things in our mouths because no one's around us, but it doesn't matter. You're murdering somebody. I said some things about Pelosi and Schumer the other day. Just spouted them out. It's not productive. So I don't want you to murder people in thoughts. I don't want you to murder people in words. I don't want you to murder people with venom. I don't want you to waste that energy. I want you to go and encourage. So instead of thinking about Mr. Pelosi or Mrs. Pelosi or Mr. Schumer in a bad, negative way, why don't I just focus on somebody else I can build? Why don't I go build my grandson's sailor? Why don't I go build my employees? Why don't I fly back to Indiana and build another burger joint, right? Tom's Donuts, right? Brisket burgers are coming, baby. Focus. Use that energy on positive things, right? Don't murder people. Encourage people. Don't murder people. Encourage people. Because if you're murdering people, you're festering and you're fulfilling hate. You see, hate is what we're trying to avoid in all of this. Hate is not productive, my friends. And this is why I want to share this with you, and I want you to appreciate me with you. Number 4, don't hate your adversary. Guilty. I've done it. Don't hate your adversary. I want you to respect their purpose. I want you to learn their powers. I mean, if you are going to go to war with them, or you are going to be combative with them, if you are going to be an adversary against them, if you're going to court against them, if you're selling against them, if you're debating against them, if you're doing all these things that we're talking about, don't hate them. Fight that. Don't hate the couple in the line that bumped in front of you, because all it does is create this emotion. And hate consumes the body, my friends. Hate is the enemy of all of us. Even the person that you may be hating on or arguing with has hate in them. Hate is only matched by hate. And I want you to stay away from hate. Don't hate your adversaries. I want you to respect their purpose. So the older couple was cutting in front of me in their line, I needed to respect their purpose. I didn't need to rage up and think and puff up and say I'm right and you're wrong, because that's not what it was about. Their purpose was, maybe he was having a heart attack, right? Maybe he was late for someone's dinner and he saw an opportunity and took it. Heck, I've done it 100 times. I forgot the fact that I've line jumped before. I forgot the fact that I had excuses for line. Don't hate, because hate leads us to boil up and make bad, irrational decisions. Our heart rate goes up. We don't get enough blood or oxygen in our blood. And then we make bad decision after bad decision. Bring it down. Bring it down. Don't hate your adversary. Respect their purpose. Learn their powers. Hate is a consuming fire of non-recoverable productive energy which will destroy you. I want you to attack hate with measured focus. Refocus that. Let somebody in the line. Talk to somebody about something while you're waiting. Move that energy around. Take a breath. Take a profit on your energy. Hate will destroy you. Because once hate's in your mind and you're got murdering words going out about people, then you can't think purposefully. And if there's one thing I really, really want to dial in today, is I need you to be purposeful about all things. I need you to be purposeful about how you think. I need you to be purposeful about what you're praying about. I need you to be purposeful about a lot of things, because I just don't think we're purposeful people enough. I need you to understand that don't think or pray unpurposefully. Rather, purposely pour your energy positively. A lot of P's there, but I know you can do it. I want you to pray in the morning, and I want you to pray at night, or I want you to think in the morning, and I want you to think at night. All right, I want you to be purposeful about those thoughts, whether you're engaging in an argument or not engaging, when you're borderline hating or going into these situations. I need you to pull back and be more purposeful about your energy. I'm challenging you to not compromise your beliefs, but test them. I'm challenging you to not quick to argue. I'm challenging you not to murder people in words, but encourage them. I'm challenging you not to hate, but respect the imposing person's purpose, and to actually respect and learn their powers if you're going to go into any type of argument or word battles with them. And last, I want you to think purposefully. I want you to pray purposefully. I want you to pray for these things. Think for these things. If we can take this mind of ours and meld it into kinds of athletic feats that we talked about, Tom Brady and other people last week, if we can do all these great things, climb mountain, why can't we change our mind to be more purposeful in these things, more kind and considerate and more thoughtful and measured? Why not? Why not? Give me one good reason. I don't think you can give me one reason. You got a brilliant brain. You can do these things. You can be lifted up and you can think differently. Your life will change and someone else's life will change because you're thinking differently. And last but not least, in Romans 12:2, God said to us for all of this, and this is why I know I'm right, and you don't have to believe in the Bible. Just listen to these words because they make so much damn sense. 12:1. Romans 12:1. He said, do not conform to the patterns of this world. Don't conform. To me, I'm conforming to the patterns of this world if I'm doing these 5 don'ts. Just turn on the TV. That's all they're doing is fighting. That's all all of them. I don't want you to conform to the patterns of this world. I can't do it. I don't want to let me do it. I don't want to let my children do it. I don't want to let my grandchildren do it. I want my mind. Because he goes on to say, rather now not be conforming to the world, but rather now be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And then you will be able to test and approve what all of God's will is, which is good, pleasing, and perfect. It's all laid out there for us. Even if you're not a believer, it's good, it's pleasing, and it's perfect. Just seek the will of what's in the Bible. Just seek the will of what's going out there. It's all good, pleasing, and perfect, but we're not getting to the perfect. We're not getting to the pleasing. We're not getting to the good because we're too quick to anger. We're too quick to murder. We're too quick to hate, and we're too busy not to compromise or test our beliefs. Well, it was fun. I want you to catch me on my WDEX podcast, and I want you to go to my YouTube and subscribe to Wired Differently, Todd Saylor, and let's get some likes. Let's get some things going on there, and let's move this ball on down the road. Man, I had fun in this quick moment. Listen, we did it in 20 minutes. I appreciate everything. Let me just wrap this up with you. I do not want you to compromise your beliefs, but I want you to test them. I do not want you to be quick to argue, but rather be measured and first understand. I do not want you to murder, but I want you to encourage. I don't want you to hate your adversary, but rather respect them. And I don't want you to pray or think unpurposely. I want you to be purposeful in what you're praying for and thinking for, right? And last but not least, do not conform to this world. Do not conform to this world. You're better than that. You're wired differently. Thanks again. Been a great show, and we'll catch up next week. I'll tell you what. I got to tell you what. I'm going to take the next 2 weeks off. I'm going to send some things out there, and we're going to have some videos out there. But the next 2 weeks are off. I've got Wired Differently, Daredevil Show with Nick Walenda coming up next week for 2 weeks. And I've got EdgeCon coming up where I'm speaking about you were called to be an overcomer. We practiced that one a while back when we kind of working some pieces of all these messages. So EdgeCon's going to be great. It's going to be a virtual show. I'm going to challenge all of you. DM me and I can get you tickets to that virtual show pretty on the deal. And I want you to also tell you about Wired Differently, Nick Walenda's Daredevil Rally. It's called Nick Walenda's Daredevil Rally presents Wired Differently. Thank Nick for all the stuff he's doing with us and the shirts and naming his Daredevil Rally presented by Wired Differently. It's just a great opportunity. So a lot of things are happening. Even in the COVID, we all got to keep pushing through. Not to drag this on, but I love you. I want you to understand that I'm here for you, and I'm just not going to let you down. So with that, I'm ending this broadcast. I want you guys to do this thing called Life Together with me, Wired Differently.